Hello and welcome, as it is that of the 23rd day of July, 2018. And this video isn't necessarily going to be that amongst technical analysis, as this is a time where there really isn't as much going on that is worth talking about at this time, or at least amongst stuff I haven't covered. Like, for instance, this Bitcoin chart, which is showing strength again amongst the 18 average of highs for the 7th hour, as it has had its retracement at 7 a.m. this morning down to 76.45 and has since been grinding within the 18 average of highs. Okay. Back in the year 2007, I came across an interesting piece of knowledge that our currency was in fact not backed by anything. They can merely print it out of thin air, but for the first time, and I think I pretty much knew that before, I really don't remember, but I do remember in 2007-08 learning, oh my goodness, that's like a Ponzi scheme. That's criminal what they're doing, although I guess it's legal criminalization, I suppose. And switching the chart over to the Dow, it probably would have been around this time, sometime around the middle of November of 2007, and maybe it might have been December, but my ultimate wake-up moment occurred on October the 31st at that time, at least on a conceptual level, and I'm not going to get any more onto the spiritual level because that was another interesting story in itself, but not in regards to this story. So then, I noticed, oh my goodness, this is going to be a pretty serious thing. Once people find out about the great Ponzi scheme, oh boy, is the world going to change, is what I thought to myself. And as I was looking on, I noticed at the same point, moving into 2008, that this head and shoulders pattern that I was tracking on a technical level and breaking down below the support at the same time that we are getting good information to why we have a currency that is just terrible, a banking system so bad. So all the news first in 2008, what bringing this down? Actually, it wasn't that move. It would have been in March, I think. This move in here. This was the Bear Stearns story that came into place. Oh my goodness. And I'm just continuing learning so many other different facets as well. Oh my goodness, this world's going to change. So the timing just happened to be a fluke situation that a whole thing was starting to unravel during the many a weeks when I started learning about the fiat currency system. And at this stage, I knew the stock market was going to crash. It was only a matter of when. In fact, I can remember in the middle of May with the Dow Jones over, it's going to make another high because the middle of May goes to 13,000 change and it tops. Okay, I thought it actually went a little higher at that time. Either way, there's the top and the fall comes in. And all of the talks of how the banks are like, the whole credit system is so bad. At this point, I'm considering myself, okay, I guess a veteran, but no, as far as understanding how the currency system is corrupt. But it's been almost a full year into the stage as we move well into the end of 2008 in understanding that the currency is, well, a piece of shit, really. And at that time, I knew the dollar index was comparing shit versus shit as well. So it's like, okay, whatever on that. But I was not expecting by any means at this point how the currency could survive even 2-3 years. Obviously, it did. So I guess there could be stranger things in life. And this even goes to show even more, just because you think something seems relatively certain, it doesn't always mean that's the case. I learned that during a football game when the Green Bay Packers lost their first ever home playoff game. I thought they could never do so. And they played against a team with like a rookie quarterback, Michael Vick, and a warm weather team. I thought, oh, there's no way they were going to lose. And now I noticed, well, at this stage here, when the market was crashing, I was like, okay, things are going on. But I realized at this point, it's not going to be long before people understand that the currency is corrupt and there is going to be major inflation. And that's where it was very interesting. Because whenever I try to talk to almost anybody at this time, No, everyone thought I was crazy. They just didn't understand me, and I think a lot of it was not really that, although definite pieces were, but it's such a scary situation to say, hey, we've screwed over our entire lives, and these quote unquote BIGBROTHERS, big bros, yeah, they may not be in your best interest. Oh, the banking system. Oh, they're gonna screw you over. They'll give them a chance. They're gonna screw you over. Okay. And time rolls on, and oh my goodness, like it never happened. What never happened was a mass outrage. I mean, things like Occupy Wall Street had already come and gone. If you never heard of Occupy Wall Street, well, those were some protests that were until like 2009, I think, was the year for that one. Also in 2009, Charlie Sheen wanted 20 minutes with the president back then, Barack Obama, regarding September 11th. There's another story that I thought after a few years would transpire and the world would change, but no, no, no. Let's just ignore the information of what like the architects and engineers have to say. Ignore what I have to say and all the other people about the currency. That's pretty much what was going on. And a lot of time went on. I mean, a lot. And each time, months and years went on, I'm like, wow, like, I don't know what to expect anymore. And we're not even into the point period where I really was like, oh my goodness, like, what's going on here? So roughly at around 2014, 2015, I'm like, I just need to do something to kill time. I started doing a lot less videos soon after this point and getting back into things like playing games like poker. Didn't do that much though. Then I did things like learn how to count blackjack cards and be damn good at it and come up with a strategy. Only to find out that even on the variance, playing multiple large sample size is going to make it very difficult to ensure guarantee of sustained income, and definitely that of large amounts of income, plus the time of having to wait for good decks. It's not going to be the greatest of ventures, but when I gave it a shot, I basically got hit by like, oh, yep, you have about a 2-3% chance of this bad outcome happening. Yeah, so be it. So I spent a lot of time, hardly played, and I hardly lost some. And then time would move on. And by the way, the blackjack would have been closer to here, I think, 2016, I think. Yeah, playing blackjack was like from like all of 2016 up until like April, I think, May, where I was writing computer programs. I was writing software programs and everything like that, or just mathematical formulations. And then obviously when I had the opportunity to count cards, I only played about 70 or 80 hands. 90 hands, maybe even 100, 120. It didn't work out so well. Didn't lose much. We're just talking about less than what my original crypto investment came into place. So I'm just killing time, and really it's just a boring game, because it's a game of life, that was. Because you're at a point where a lot of the things that you want to participate in, or they want to participate in, you don't want to, in the sense of pretty much how the fiat currency system is in place. So I thought, well, let's just take a look at some definitions and see where we stand. And the first thing would be that of slavery. Is everybody on this planet a slave? Because I always thought is when you are forced into things of your undoing, you got no choice, and that's your basic whole life. So I wanted to read the definition. So the first one, number 1, a person who is the legal property of another and is forced to obey them. And I have to say that that's a check mark amongst this definition. So legal property amongst the central banking fiat currency system and forced to obey the fiat system. 4, anytime you need to pay stuff like taxes, or if you need to buy anything in this world, you need to do so within that fiat currency system. The one that guarantees massive debt to monstrosity levels. Just horrible. And so that was a check mark. Person who works very hard without proper appreciation. And you know what? In this sense here, kind of, the way I look at it is because if everyone works hard, some of them will get good results or a very good life. We'll just talk about it. But when 80-90% of the world's in debt, okay. This one is the interesting one, the number 3 one, because of the example they use. A person who is excessively dependent upon or controlled by something. I mean, that in itself, excessively dependent currency or controlled by something. We're not talking human terms, like it has to be an actual living figure, although those who create such a fiat currency just may be that of such. I'm not going to go anywhere further on that, but the example they have on this one here, the poorest people in the world are slaves to the bank, dependent upon the bank, controlled by the bank. So if I don't want to use a bank, that means I'm not going to be dependent or controlled upon such. Yeah, I want this whatever figure, 6-figure, 5-figure job. Yeah. About this payment thing, I don't do banks because of how corrupt the fiat debt note banking system is. And also, I don't want you to get paid in fiat currency. What do you pay me in gold, silver, Bitcoin, Litecoin? We'll figure something out. Yeah. And then a device or part of one directly controlled by another. And then the one that's not so interesting, an ant captured in its pupal state by an ant or another species for which it becomes a worker. We'll just not talk about that one. But for what it's worth on the definition, it almost makes it seem as if, yeah, we're all slaves. So I did a further search. What word means being forced to agree or accept? Because that's what I was looking for. So how do you say something like I am forced to agree or accept the situation in one word? I believe there is a precise word to express this. Maybe it's slavery, I don't know. And that's why I'm doing this, because we are forced to agree and accept all the factors that come with the fiat debt note currency system. And in here you got a few words like coerced, blackmailed, compelled, required, held hostage, obligated, or bound. So are we all hostages as well? I guess maybe. However, one of the key things in the learning of fiat currency, the economic monetary model, is that the reason why it is so, via the name fiat, thus Latin for let it be, is because we have confidence and faith, apparently it states, upon such government decree. And this is the one interesting, if the people decide to renounce on the faith of such of an occurrence, that of currency, well, hyperinflation can get out of control. So I guess that has to be done in a mass level, and maybe it's being done today as far as all the cryptos and all that type of nature. But for myself, again, as I was talking about a little bit on how I'm basically waiting my time for a world to have the significant change within the monetary model. So until such an event occurs, then I'm just going to basically kill time. I almost feel like I have been serving time, that's the word to use, for several years. And I don't know how much longer it'll be. I thought it was going to be 2 years, 3 years or so before there'd be a big outrage against fiat currency, and then by 2011, 12, oh my goodness, are things going to get nasty? Nope, that didn't happen. I don't know how much longer it's going to work that way. So until then, I'm just going to keep on trading. It's a game. And it kind of works out within how a slave in the human race is having to play the game, in that you're going to need to get fiat currency one way or another. successful trading is, well, one way or another. But I also realize on a real level that it is a matter of when. Sometimes you can underestimate or overestimate how long something is going to take. And of course, an explosion, a major change within a monetary cycle, well, that obviously was one that hasn't happened yet, but well, definitely will. Whether it happens in our lifetimes, I have to think so. I remember saying back in 2010-ish, 2011, just to be safe, I think I say it again. Okay, I think the currency is going to collapse soon, like 2-3 years. But just to be safe, I would expect it to be gone by the end of the decade. Like it could take that long. Like, oh my goodness, if it takes by the end of 2019. Well, 2019 is less than a year and a half away now. So I don't even want to try to predict the time on the measure, given how much I failed as far as confidently predicting that it was going to happen on the relative quick time frame. And all the things, again, talking about fiat currency, when governments keep on printing it to oblivion, it doesn't take confidence or the lack thereof of fiat currency to create hyperinflation. It's just a whole shitload more currency added to the system that makes the value of them worth less. So there's a decent part of me when I go into different places and I see major amounts of inflation at different things, realizing, well, that just has to happen. But when can we finally see gas prices go from $1.30 to $2 to $3 to $4 to $10 to $500 to $20 trillion per liter? And I'm being realistically sarcastic when I say all of that on all fronts. Because, again, part of trading cryptocurrencies, holding the physical silver, but precious metals in general, is a form of protecting your assets and protecting your wealth against that of inflation. And within cryptocurrencies, you could say it's not doing so well now that it's down from like 20,000 to like 7,000. And I know I don't have the chart to show all the moves below, but, well, yeah, now I do. Well, it was 1,000 before. And it's up a lot since that point, and it has done a great job. Where as of now, gold and silver has done a very poor job over the last many years. It has been doing a tremendous job for those whom are looking to accumulate over several of years, being able to get depressed prices for quite some time, because it's a waiting game for me. I know that this is going to work out as far as silver being very valuable, protecting your assets over the long-term time frame. It's the only asset I can even say such, with a honorable mention for gold, for the long term, 20 years, 15, 30 years. Of course, predicting time has been relatively difficult, but I look at things like silver. Okay, what type of competition does silver have or could have that could destroy its value, making it something better? For example, VHS tapes. Well, how about DVDs? DVDs. Okay, well, how about the internet, able to stream high-speed internet and thus have movies download fast and watch it fast on any device, because now you can view your computer on major TV screens and all that type of stuff. So what type of new way can stop or come in to stop silver's greatness from being used on the industrial level? And I have a difficult time finding a situation amongst something like that. Gold, problem there. I kind of have that little bit of a fear that the opposite of the problem that I thought was going to happen on the whole Fort Knox situation, however you want to look at it, the reserves, that is just so high, and they're not, and if there's like that much more than there really is, then the price could have some interesting price fluctuations towards as such. So that's why when I'm looking to buy silver and or that of gold, it is very rarely, hardly ever at all, that of gold. And then I thought by the end of 2019, definitely by now, that fiat currency would be something of the past. And I would be very, very shocked if in 20 years, if fiat currency not only would still be intact, but would still have anywhere at least half of its value that it does today, let alone 75-80% of it, which would be thus lighter amounts of inflation. Okay. Yep. So up until, I don't know. I gotta think at some point it's going to happen. That is a major change in the world that's going to fluctuate into a change of a monetary model. And I think the progressions of Bitcoin is very progressive towards such. But for years, I have been losing all optimism for any type of great change happening soon is going to do such. But just like what I say with the markets are going to do what they're going to do. Thus, as a trader, you just react to such. And I say that because there's nothing that you can do to change what it's going to do. There's like nobody in the business that's going to be big enough to move any decently sized market, let alone for most people, even smaller sized markets. The ones that only trade like at $100,000 a day. You can't, but most people can't even move those ones too much. So it's out of your control. So that's why I say for stuff like this, those types of events are out of my controls. I am shocked that today at this point, it is easier to talk to people about fiat currencies in the situation now. Seems to be more people aware to it, but I don't test as many people out to see how quote unquote clueless that they may be as far as how deceived they are in the banking system. Anyway, didn't expect to do a video like this. I just was thinking and thought about this for a while. Thought, heck, let's do it. Markets aren't really doing too much at this time. And have yourself a great day. Bye-bye.